What's good, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Writer's Room. This week we are discussing Power Book Force. This is episode 9, No Loose Ends. And this episode did not leave me wanting more. It was so good. Let's talk about it. Sorry, guys, if you hear a change in my voice. I have not been right since the weather started changing, but no worries about it. We're still going to go through with this recap. So starting off at the beginning of the episode, we have your boy Tommy. So they just got rid of his PO and Diamond is telling him they are going to come looking for him. So it's good. Once I watched it back the next couple of times, I realized that Diamond was kind of prepared for the offices, the department to come through and search his entire barbershop, which is why later on in the episode it was empty and there was nothing to be found there because Diamond is already prepared for them to come look for his PO. Tommy tells Diamond that there is a snitch amongst the crew, that Jenny Sue, Diamond's girl, said that she can, get some connects with the phone companies, but she basically confirmed that there is a snitch and Tommy is suspecting that it's Jannard. Diamond tells him, no, this is not a Jannard thing. I believe it's Vic. So, Tommy is going to really have it out for Vic because he has been fighting for Vic's reputation this entire time. So we'll see later on in the episode what happens when Tommy finds out that Vic is actually the real snitch. Now, moving along, we go to Stacy and her husband, the lieutenant, and they are just talking about what they found. And at this point, they do have enough to arrest Tommy Egan. The lieutenant is not here for it. He basically tells Stacy that you made it to where Vic didn't have a choice. You gave him an ultimatum, and that is why he is willing to testify against Tommy and taking out Vargas. But we both know that that is probably not a Tommy thing, like that Tommy probably didn't take him out. Stacy does get into a small argument with the lieutenant. We know that they are husband and wife, and the lieutenant tells her that this is changing us. At first Stacy did not care when it came to the work, the professional relationship, but when she realized that this is something that can harm their personal relationship, she went ahead later on in the episode, in a few more scenes, she's going to touch back and make sure that she does this the right way. And that is why she does end up throwing out the whole statement that Vic gave to her and is going to arrest Tommy the right way. This next scene with Diamond and Jannard is very important because we see a change with Jannard and what his thoughts are about Diamond throughout this entire episode. But Diamond is kind of reverting back to the Diamond that we didn't know pre-episode 1, season 1 of Power Book Force. This is exactly who I wanted to see. This is the big bad guy that I was wondering, okay, everybody is afraid of Diamond and Diamond has all this respect, but why? And Jannard is realizing that Diamond is going back to his old ways, but he just, is coming to check in on him. Diamond tells him, I want you to find out who took out Leon and bring them to me. Of course, Jannard is taking note throughout this entire scene. Moving along, we do go to Maria, and she goes with her grandma to see Miguel. Miguel is smacking on something good. That rib looked like it was about something. But we see that grandma and Miguel are talking about what the plan is, and the plan is to basically rip the carpet from underneath Tommy and Diamond and create an entire mob that Miguel will be able to control. Of course, Miguel is already shut off, or really through Tommy's idea, he has already shut off the connect between Merkovich and Che, but we know that Miguel is trying to get rid of Tommy. And as soon as Maria hears that Miguel is planning on killing Tommy, or unaliving Tommy, Maria is completely stopped in her whole thing. And I really love this moment where we get to kind of travel into her inner monologue as she's going through what to do. Should I choose Miguel? Should I choose, this man, this love of my life, which I still don't know how it got to this point of a Romeo and Juliet situation. But we know that Tommy falls hard. So this is not totally, off the wall for Tommy to fall hard for someone. And it looks like she's falling hard for him. So she runs out the room, but take a look and make sure that you rewatch this scene again and again, because you realize that Miguel's grandmother asked Miguel to borrow his car. So that let me know before anything ever happened with Merkovich and Nunez that That whole bomb that was planted later on in the episode was actually meant for Miguel, and we'll see later on in the scenes how that kind of messed up. Speaking of your boy Merkovich, we see that he is having he's trying to go through and get a connect again because it is dried up on his side of the streets. So he's going into a different cartel, Cortez cartel, I believe is what it was called. And your girl Claudia makes an appearance in Merkovich's face. I mean, I don't know, but the actor really does make me laugh every time I see him. Not because he's bad, he's actually phenomenal in this role. It's just that his facial expressions every time Claudia comes around is a whole mess. It's like his mood is completely shifted. But we see that Claudia comes in the middle of the deal to kind of make her presence known. She's basically trying to do the Tommy approach, and she's like, hey, yeah, I've been an asset to Merkovich, blah, blah, blah. This does spike the peak or the interest of the Cortez cartel, and the guy, the leader over it, is saying, you know what, I like her, she can stay, but make sure that you guys have my money by tomorrow evening. I need all of the money. I need advancement. If I'm going to give you product, I want to make sure that you're trustworthy. And Merkovich basically tells Claudia, since you wanted to come in, you're going to have to put up all the money for this advancement. Just know that your protection from Tommy goes away. So Claudia once again is making promises that she doesn't know how she's going to keep later on. I'll keep this scene very brief because it's very clear what's going on. Tommy and Diamond are briefing their crew on you guys are getting new phones, and they don't tell them why, like the real reason why. Of course, Diamond tells them that the cops are really on their tail, and that is why they're doing it. And you can see that Vic is looking like, oh, you know, hopefully they don't know or suspect it's me. But we see that Tommy actually has another plan in mind. Remember earlier I told you that Jenny Sue did have some connects with the phone companies, and he plans on taking all of the phones that the crew is turning in and making sure that no one is tapped with the police because Jenny will be able to see it. So Vic doesn't know this, and of course we know Vic gets got at the end. We'll talk more about it. Going back to Stacy and the lieutenant, I told you that Stacy did change her mind about doing things, you know, the kind of sketchy way, and she's going to do things the right way, of course, because she knows that this is hurting her relationship with her husband. And he is thrilled. He's so happy that Stacy has decided that their relationship means more than doing business bad way, because we know in the Power universe, anytime cops start doing things a little bit on the illegal side, it just never works out for them. Every cop in the past has been out. As you can see from the last season, spoiler alert if you have not watched Power Goes, Sax has finally met his end, and he just kept doing so many illegal things that it just never works out. So I am glad that Stacy turned this around, but she did say that Vic will need to go in and plant a mic within Tommy's apartment because his spot is, I mean, pretty much locked up like a fortress. So we'll see how that goes on. Now going back to Diamond pays a little visit back to Leon's mom, and I am happy to see that she is in a much better place. You can tell that she's still healing. The actress is doing so well. I really love her. I've got to figure out more information about her. But we see that Diamond finds out in this little visit that Leon's dad is actually the one who put his PO onto some new information, and that is why his PO is not with us here in Powerland anymore. It is because of this man, this coward here. The new and improved Diamond, oh, you getting that work handled to you, and we'll see how he does that. Now, when we go to Maria after she hears that Miguel is going to take out Tommy, she does relay this information to Tommy, and she asks about Lakeisha Grant in the process of, you know, before she does relay any information to Tommy, she wants to, you know, vet him out, see if he's serious about her. And Tommy tells her that Lakeisha wasn't made for this life. She did. Up in Tommy's voice, she did. Like, why would he say it so blanketly like that? I don't know. But he did. He just blanketed the statement as she's dead. But we see that Maria is still riding out for Tommy and tells him that Miguel has it out for him. And if Miguel wants him dead, F him, then we need to get Miguel out because I want you alive. And here lies and here starts the Romeo and Juliet situation. Hopefully Maria makes it through because I do like their relationship. I just don't know how we got to this type of love this fast, but hey, F it. I am here for Tommy and his love. So if this is the personal relationship that is going to keep Tommy's head on a swivel, then I'll take it. Now going back to Diamond and Miguel. Miguel has just gotten done talking with his grandmother, and I love that we are able to see the grandma kind of walk across the screen because that is signaling to us that she's aware of the plans that Miguel is going to lay and drop on Diamond with getting rid of Tommy and combining CBI and the Insane Princess, but also that she may be meeting her end. Like we are seeing her walk across, and that is the last time that grandma is seen, because as soon as she gets in the car, which Nunez was supposed to drive, we are constantly reminded throughout this episode that Nunez had Miguel's car. Nunez was supposed to drive the grandmother and he was not there. That should have been honestly the first thing. Who was supposed to be driving my grandmother? She has never driven this entire season. So it is kind of confusing that Miguel was not able to figure that out before Tommy was. So I definitely understand what Ched was saying towards the end of the episode, because how is Tommy going to find out that you have a rat before you do? But we know that Miguel comes out and sees his grandmother's car blown up, or shall I say his car blown up, and unfortunately Granny was in there. So she has met her end, and I really loved her. Good job, but it's time for you to go. Going back to Shanti, Claudia, and Claudia's friend. I keep forgetting what her name is, but it doesn't matter. It will matter towards the end of the episode. But we see that Claudia tells Shanti once again that she's made moves without her and that she's actually linking up with the Cortez cartel. But she also tells her that unfortunately Merkovich is not going to put in any money, so I need you, Shanti, to come through. And Shanti is like, huh? Excuse me, how are you gonna make this deal without me and then expect that me and my crew supply it all? I mean, the nerve of Claudia. And you can see that her girl is just over there cheesing from ear to ear. She loves Claudia with her big boy draws on. But Claudia, once again, is making moves behind Shanti, and that is why Shanti will never be loyal to her. Nonetheless, we will carry on. Now going to briefly to the next scene, we see that Darnell basically escaped that place. I don't know how he was able to escape that Fort Knox of a building that was supposed to be withholding him, but he was able to escape, and now JP is feeling bad. At this point, I don't know what JP his character is doing within the show, but I guess maybe keeping tabs on Darnell. I am interested to see Darnell back in action, and we'll see him a little bit in a couple of scenes. But we do go back to Jannard and Shanti tells Jannard all of what's going on with Claudia, and Jannard wants to keep Diamond. Shanti wants to keep Diamond at bay until she no longer needs him or he no longer serves her plan. And we see that Jannard is kind of not with it, but we know that later on he sees that, wait, Diamond has kind of spiraled back like out of control, so maybe I should take Shanti's word for it. And we see that Shanti does go to Tommy and lets him know of Claudia's plan. That's when Tommy encourages Shanti to work for Claudia, and he's gonna cut her off so that she's not dealing and dabbling between two different sets. And this kind of pisses Shanti off, but she holds her cool, and it was like, okay, fine, I'll do that, because at the end of the day, her end goal is taking out Tommy and taking over CBI. So we'll see how that turns out. And as we've been getting little drops of nuggets and gems throughout the episode, we finally see Nunez having a lunch with Merkovich, and we do see that he was promised a big lump sum of money to take out Miguel. Merkovich is not satisfied. He's not impressed with Miguel's grandma being the kill, that ended up happening. But he lets Nunez know, you're getting half of it because the kill did not happen. Like, I told you to take out Miguel and you took out his grandmother. And Nunez, he has a hate against the grandmother, and it seemed like as though that feeling was mutual. So I am happy that Nunez got what he deserved. A few short scenes later, we see that Miguel and Maria are in mourning. They are at the funeral for the grandmother. Everyone is in mourning, including Che. Che and the grandmother had a really tight bond in a relationship, even though they didn't always see eye to eye, specifically with Miguel. Che is not so fond of Miguel, but he absolutely adored the grandmother because she's been there ride or die with her husband, her deceased husband. So it just made sense that Che wasn't trying to hear no type of business that Tommy was talking. But in the midst of, giving respect to Tommy and stunning him at the same time, Che tells him, look, I've already greenlit Miguel to take out Markovich, so you need to sit this one out and know your place, know your role. When they walk out, Diamond is like, now why you have to go and do that? Tommy says, oh, we're right at where we need to be. We need to make sure that Miguel does not successfully take out Markovich. And Diamond's like, well, that will kind of go against what Che told you. We're just going to make sure that we get to it first in a slick way. So we'll see later on how he does that with finding Nunez. As I've spoken about earlier, we know that Diamond is already prepared for the entire Illinois Police Department to come in looking for the PO. So he was squared away in the barbershop. He didn't quite have his alibi in yet, but thankfully for Jannard coming in, Jannard was able to corroborate Diamond's story and say, hey, I was with him that night. Nothing happened. The PO came, checked on him, and then left, and we don't know what happened after that. We see Diamond tells him a few scenes later that his PO actually granted him early release, and unfortunately for the PO, he did not tell anyone that he was going to arrest Diamond because Leon's dad saying that Diamond was back dealing drugs, and unfortunately and fortunately for Diamond, he's able to be released after this. So Jannard is happy for him, but also sees that something has changed within Diamond. In this next brief scene, we have Tommy and Maria talking, and Tommy tells Maria that he wants to keep her safe. Hey, I haven't been safe since the day I was born, and I've accepted it. There was something about that particular line and how they zoomed in on her facial expression that leads me to believe that Maria may not make it through this Power Book series. I'm hoping that she doesn't die under Tommy's watch, because that would be heartbreaking. But I do take into account of everything that Maria is doing with backstabbing her brother and also trying to be with Tommy. It's not gonna work out when your brother is underneath the head of a cartel. So Maria does tell Tommy that Nunez was actually the one who was supposed to be driving Miguel's car, and he was not there. Tommy is then given the information that he needs in order to watch for any traitors, specifically Nunez, show up at Markovich's restaurant, which he does when he gets Vic to do like a stakeout in front of Markovich's restaurant. He does end up taking Nunez in the process of that. And before that, speaking of Vic, we did see that he was able to place that hidden microphone underneath the counter, Tommy's countertop, and I just know that it's going to come back to bite Tommy in the end. I am hoping that someone ends up seeing it, Maria, Tommy. I'm hoping he doesn't think that it's Maria that put it there, but he should know at this point that it was Vic that played him. Anyways, we see exactly where Darnell has been hidden and cooped up this entire time, and he's playing the game at his homeboy's crib. I forget what his name is, so write in the comments down below who he is. I know who he is on the shy, but let me know who Darnell's friend is. But we see that Darnell, aka D-Mac, is at his friend's house playing the game. That's when JP comes, and Darnell lets him have it, exactly what he should have, because JP has been pretending as though he has always been this amazing parent, and you never were, sir. It was actually a really good moment because it gave JP the insight that he needed to see. We all know this season has been a season full of reflections, but this has given JP that time to reflect on who he has been as a parent and given him insight and understanding to Kate and what she may have been suffering and going through, because we all fall short below the line sometimes, and this was one of those times. And I'm glad that him and Kate were able to kind of share in that misery together and reflect with each other. Going back to a prior scene, we we see Diamond and Jannard. They take Leon's dad out to the lake, but Jannard is here for everything. I couldn't tell in this scene right here if Jannard was loving what he was seeing or if he was just really shocked by it all. I started to assume that this was just something that he could bring back to Shanti and let her know that you were right, Diamond is a little thrown off of this Leon situation. So we see that Leon's dad spoke too much and unfortunately got. In this scene, we see Tommy and Vic after they've, taken Nunez up to a private spot. And I love that they brought and incorporated Julio. Every chance they get, I want Julio's name to be known because we know Julio, he went out the wrong way. I'm still hurt by that. But Tommy brings it up as a way of torturing. Now, when Nunez started feeling that pain, he started singing, which is what he's known for anyways. And Tommy tells Nunez, call Markovich and tell him about Miguel planning to unalive him tonight. I was confused on exactly where Tommy's plan was coming from, but Tommy wants to bring Nunez in to Che and Miguel so it can come off as though Tommy found out all of this information without any help at all, when we know that Maria is really the sole reason why Tommy found out about Nunez. So we see that it does benefit Tommy in a way that unfortunately it took away from Miguel, because Miguel was unable to make that kill with Markovich, and it pissed off Che because Markovich is pretty much off limit now that he's with the Cortez cartel. Going back to Claudia and her girl, we see that their relationship is starting to steam up some more, and this is a childhood friend of Claudia, so she's kind of being there to back up Claudia and be her soldier. But she's also there to sponsor her because she brought Claudia all of this money that Claudia needed in order to be a part of the Cortez cartel. So Claudia is at her feet right now and at her mercy. But I do kind of like to see this happy ending for Claudia, because I can't say that she'll have a happy ending next season. As we near the end of this episode, we see Maria talking with Tommy. Tommy just tells her that he handled the situation, so she's free to go back, but he would really love her to stay so that he can make sure that she stays safe. Maria does tell him that she has a contingency plan and she really wants to go to Barcelona. This is like her home that she's been thinking about, her fantasy home, shall I say. And for some odd reason, this turns on Stacy and the lieutenant because they start going on this wild flashback about them first meeting each other and their first assignment together. And they end up getting it on right there in the office. So good for Stacy. She needed that. Going back to Tommy, we see that the lawyer calls him back up and lets him know that I have those phone numbers for you and we found your snitch. So Tommy, before he leaves, we do see that Maria mumbles the words I love you, of course in Spanish, te amo, Tommy. Tommy hasn't had this love since Lakeisha, so this is pretty much going to be it for him. But boy, oh boy, when he goes to see Jinsu, we're not shown that Vic's name was the one that popped up for that phone tap, but we do see later, right after that scene, that Tommy is watching Vic, and Tommy just knew that it was going to be Shanti or Jannard that was snitching and was totally upset and blindsided when he seen Vic was the one who was snitching. So when I seen Tommy watching Vic, I just knew my prayers were going to be answered. Vic is going to get that revenge that Tommy has been seeking. Whether with Claudia or Vic, but one of y'all must go because of what happened to my girl last season. And I almost skated by this part, but we cannot ignore the fact that Jannard told Diamond that he looked up the name Mad Dog, who is the one that took out Leon, and Mad Dog is actually the nephew of King Kilo. This man is pretty much untouchable if Diamond wants to uphold this coalition that he started with Tommy and the rest of the crews around the city. So this is a dilemma that I was not prepared for. I was so prepared to see Diamond avenge Leon, but we're gonna have to wait another season to see what Diamond does about Leon. What did you guys think of this episode? Oh my gosh, it was so good. With Tommy's facial expression watching Vic go to his car after leaving the car of Stacy. Oh my God. I just know that Tommy is going to hand it to him. I know that he already stated earlier in the episode that there's no torture. There's nothing sadistic enough to handle a snitch the proper way. I did understand what his sentiments were when talking about snitching amongst the crew, because it just felt underwhelming seeing Nunez just get, shot at and that was it. But I know that Tommy is going to put up some work. He is a slow burn, so Tommy is going to torture Vic in a different way, and I cannot wait to see what that is. That brings me to the end of this recap, you guys. What do you think of this episode? Be sure to write in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. You already know the deal. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Writer's Room, and I will see you next time on The Writer's Room.